Please note that this video was created for the orientation of graduate and professional students due to start at Queen's University in September 2020. Should you be watching these videos at a later stage, some of the information may have changed. You should follow the relevant links and confirm these details on the websites mentioned and/or contact the relevant people giving the videos.
G'day, my name is Colette and I work in the School of Graduate Studies. As usual, I would like to begin this session by acknowledging that Queen's is situated on traditional Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory. We are grateful to be able to live, learn and play on these lands. Now, we make this acknowledgement as an effort towards reconciliation and relationship building. This land was occupied long before European arrival by Indigenous peoples with rich cultures that are still alive today. By mentioning the history of this land, we hope to educate, to create an awareness of Indigenous histories for both domestic and international students as part of this institution's desire to foster inclusivity on campus and to encourage reflection on what it means to occupy this space. Now, we offer this acknowledgement in recognition, respect and gratitude for the Indigenous people who have lived on and continue to live on this land and with whom we share a community. So today I want to talk about how does your funding package work. Firstly, let me say that funding packages vary from student to student and not all graduate students get funding packages. So who does? All full-time PhD students, and in fact we guarantee a minimum funding of $18,000 for each eligible year. That's years 1 to 4. Full-time master's students in years 1 and or 2 of a research-based program. Some programs do have minimum guarantees for master's students, but most do not. So it's best just to check with your program's graduate assistant. For all other master's students, it is best also to ask your graduate assistant. Usually professional master's programs don't get funding from Queen's, but you may be eligible to apply for external funding as well as government student loans such as OSAP. So what makes up a funding package? Well, a funding package is usually made up of the following. We've got the Queen's Graduate Awards. We have internal Queen's Awards, some specific to the program, others are relevant to various fields of interest or gender or minority groups and so forth. We have teaching assistantship work or research assistantship work or graduate research fellowships. And then sometimes we have what's called a one-time top-up called a Tara Award if you bring with you to Queen's a Tri-Council Scholarship, and that's one of the federal agency, granting agencies scholarships through either NSERC, which is the National Sciences Engineering Research Council, or SSHRC, which is the Social Sciences Humanities Research Council, or CIHR, which is the Canadian Institute of Health Research. So how does your funding package get dispersed? Well, you need to consult with your program's graduate assistant on this, as it does vary depending on your funding package. If you receive a QGA or internal awards, these are normally paid out in 3 equal installments at the beginning of each term. So early September, early January or early May. If you have a teaching assistantship or research assistantship position, they will get paid out for the term of employment. That is, if you're a TA in the fall term, you get paid for that work in the fall term only. If you TA in the winter term, you get paid for that work in winter only. So you need to budget accordingly. Now, TAs and RAs are salary positions and payments are received monthly and taxes are deducted from your salaries. If you get a graduate research fellowship, these are fellowships from your supervisor's grants or other sources in the graduate program. And there are several disbursement examples, so make sure you find out how your GRF will be paid out. So talk to your graduate assistant about this. Ultimately, you need to get a clear breakdown of your term's funding. It will help you balance your income with your expenses for that term. For example, your tuition cost, your rent cost, your cost of living. So ask the question, how much can I expect to get in each term, not just how much each year. Now, the funding package is a contribution to your educational expenses. It is not normally equivalent to a living wage and does not normally get adjusted for inflation. So one last thing, the cost of tuition is not included in your funding package. So you don't get, for example, $10,000 a year plus tuition, you just get $10,000 a year, or 18 or 24, whatever your funding package amount is. So how can you supplement your funding package or funds in general? You can apply for funding and or employment from other sources to help top up your funds each year. And some examples are like applying for external grants, which I mentioned before, like the NSERC, SHERC, CIHR, or in the province here of Ontario, the OGS, which is the Ontario Graduate Scholarship. If you're an international student, it's good to find out if there are scholarships you can apply for from your home country to bring with you, because often countries will do that. They want you to have the opportunity to study overseas, so check that out in your home country. Sometimes there are additional TA or RA positions that become available, and you may qualify for those. So let your graduate assistant know if you would like to be considered if more become available. See what work opportunities on campus you could do. Often Central Resources has both volunteer and paid work opportunities. And that's groups like Career Services or QUIC. They often have extra work, SAS and the Centre for Teaching and Learning. And you may want to consider a work-study program. Now, there are a limited number, but a very good opportunity to attain additional funding, but also make good contacts outside of your program. And of course, the Student Awards Office has bursaries and awards open to graduate level students, as well as special and limited emergency funding. One thing to remember though, it is expected that a full-time graduate student will limit paid employment unrelated to the student's research to a total of 10 hours per week. Now this is an average over the 52 weeks of the graduate student's year. So for example, you could work 20 hours in 1 week but none the next. That is still an average of 10 hours over that 2-week period. Lastly, I'd like to finish up reminding you all that if you are into social media, then take note of these for the School of Graduate Studies. We will advise of graduate events, highlights of graduate achievements, workshops, for example, like applying for scholarships, and other items we think you might like to hear about. All the very best to you, and please stay safe. Bye-bye.